Let's talk about the World Cup. Actually, I don't know if I've ever asked you. Are you a soccer fan?
I played soccer in high school. Does that count?
No,
for anything?
I think
No,
that's
I'm not really. I'm not really a soccer fan.
You're a football guy.
Yeah.
American football.
Yeah, American football. Right. Yeah, I mean, soccer's fine. Like, I don't hate it. Like,
no.
Watching it as much as some people do.
No, I like soccer. But that said, this is not a happy soccer story at all. This is a sort of crazy story that will surely develop over the next few months. This is from the Associated Press. A former CIA officer who spied on Qatar's rivals to help the tiny Arab country land this year's World Cup is now under FBI scrutiny, and newly obtained documents show he offered clandestine services that went beyond soccer to try to influence U.S. policy. That's according to their own investigation. They added, the months-long FBI probe focuses on whether Kevin Chalker's work for Qatar broke laws related to foreign lobbying, surveillance, and exporting sensitive technologies and tradecraft, said two people with knowledge of the investigation. All right, so the FBI would not confirm or deny whether that investigation existed to the Associated Press. And there are all kinds of different parties wrapped up in this crazy story. You come back to Tom Barrack and the United Arab Emirates lobbying, which Elliot Broidy is saying has something to do with this, because UAE and Qatar, and it's just a mess. What did you make of it as it broke on Thursday?
I wonder how much more of this we're going to find, because the World Cup, the competition for the World Cup is one of the most corrupt things on the planet. And I think when it's a competition among Gulf countries, it's going to take the corruption level, up several notches. Yeah. I did a story.
But we're involved in it. Like, that's the best part of the story. Like, this is American lobbyists.
Right. I mean, we have the best spies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're gonna hire one, who better?
Yeah.
So I did a story a couple years ago about the most audacious financial sabotage effort that I've ever come across. It was I got documents. I got the entire presentation that was put together by a consulting firm and a particular bank in Europe for the United Arab Emirates, on behalf of the United Arab Emirates, which was livid that Qatar had gotten the World Cup. This is like such a huge deal, for Qatar, and the Emiratis wanted a piece of it. And so they concocted this scheme where they were going to corner, and there is evidence that they actually carried this out, or carried pieces of it out. So they were going to corner the Qatari currency using these various brokerage houses and transactions. And then they spell all this out. You can just Google the main words I'm saying here. You can go find the story. It's completely unbelievable. And then they were going to use that to say, like, look what a mess Qatar is. Their currency is like flying out of control. And then they were going to go to Qatar, and they were going to sell it short. So they're going to make money on the side of it.
Well, you got to do that.
Yes, obviously, you're going to do that.
You can't just leave it on the table.
And then they're going to go to Qatar and say, look, you want your currency back. You have to have some of the games here in the UAE. That's what they want. They just wanted some games in the UAE.
Just a piece of the pie.
Which is like, you know what? Let them have a game. Who cares? Come on, man. give them a game. Like, I feel bad for them that they're willing to go to these extraordinary lengths to destroy the entire economy. Then Saudi and the UAE very nearly invaded Qatar during the Trump administration. Tillerson stopped them at the last minute. Kushner was, I think, quite annoyed that he stopped them. Kushner was siding with them all the time, but they were like within hours of like launching an actual invasion. And it wasn't just about the World Cup, but the fact that Qatar had gotten the World Cup had them so worked up.
Well, and this gets into, here's another quote from the AP, Global Risk Advisor, so that's the firm that Kevin Chalker works for and founded, also created a detailed security plan in 2014 to install a surveillance system in Qatar that could track mobile phones in the country with extreme accuracy and allow analysts to isolate individual conversations and listen in real time, according to internal company records that include a draft contract. And so Kevin Chalker is accused, based on the Associated Press report, which is based on documents the AP says that it has, of just selling his soul, basically. Yeah. Like, what more, I should say, what a lot of people would consider to be pieces of your soul, in being involved in that level of surveillance, being involved in that level of corruption and selling it as a service for personal profit to a foreign country is like really, really a remarkable thing to be accused of. And again, like these are allegations right now, but it just speaks to how much money is on the table. It's not just money on the table is not just people know about the World Cup corruption. It's been a storyline for a while, but it's not just like what you see in the headlines. There's also all these lobbyists like working under the surface for themselves. And this is a great example of one of those.
And Elliot Broidy, the RNC fundraiser, who was pardoned by Trump, is actually suing Global Risk Advisors.
Yes.
He accuses them of basically hacking his wife's emails, getting it and then getting into his own emails.
And that's what led to Barrack, right? That's what led to...
There was there was some evidence there about Barrack's role that helped come out. One of the people that reported on that was me actually, and I've been subpoenaed as part of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, part of this Broidy-verse.
Part of the Broidy story, you're subpoenaed.
Yeah, I got a subpoena.
I didn't know that.
Which we're not responding to, and we're not because.
Yep.
Stop.
Yep.
And which goes back to like, look.
Was that under the Trump administration?
Yes, and then he got indicted, and I think the case went away. But maybe now that he's gotten pardoned, maybe the case will come back.
Yeah.
But in general, like reporters are just not going to talk about sources.
Don't subpoena journalists.
Yeah. And because also I don't know, like somebody like an anonymous source gave us documents. We confirmed whether the documents were authentic or not. We reported on the documents. I don't know anything more than that. So even if they did drag me into court, which I wouldn't appear, but if they did, I'm like, I can't help you. I don't know.
I mean, all of this stuff becomes a question with the Associated Press report too. It's like, how are they getting these documents right now when there's this really bitter battle between two of those parties? It raises the question of what is going on here? What kind of sort of warfare is this?
Right, and Broidy has wanted to take these people down. I think he's got a vendetta. I mean, he blames them for ruining his life, so not surprising he would have a vendetta, but it looks like he may have gotten one.
I mean, just a really basic tip. Don't violate FARA and don't act unethically, but it's just too much to ask.
There's more money in
that. It's too much to ask.
Yeah.
But they also always have the ethical calculus of like, well, this money is that's for my children, that's for comforts, et cetera, et cetera. Don't sell out your country. Just
Pro tip.
Yeah, just stop.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.